it's AMI day 4, and I went to the school today and got me some handy dandy tools so we can do this math maybe a little bit easier. We also worked, all 4 of us went up there today and got new AMI packets ready to roll out after spring break. Mr. Indris is putting together some sort of action plan in order to get that out to you guys. You will also receive your report card when you pick up your new AMI packets. I will continue to do these videos for you each day when we get our new packets. In our packet today, day 4 is lesson 12, and it's dealing with mixed numbers and subtraction. This is not going to work any differently than what you guys have been doing. We still need to make sure our denominators are the same. And when we look at these, we have a 4 and a 3. So again, you have your 2 options. You can either multiply your denominators together, or you can skip count by 4s and 3s and get to the first number that they have in common. When you look at these, you're going to see that 4 and 3, they will both skip count to 12. So I'm going to write that down right now. And as we've discussed the previous days, we need to write down the multiplication fact that's going to help us get from 4 to 12. So we're going to do times 3 on top and bottom. And then we're going to do times 4 on top and bottom in the bottom fraction. Okay? So now, when you see this, we have 3 and 3/12 minus 2 and 4/12. Now, your little handy dandy brain is going, the numerator in the top fraction is smaller than the numerator in the bottom fraction. So just like in anything else, we're going to have to borrow, okay? In fractions, when you borrow, you're going to take 1 away from your whole number. So just like in math traditionally, this 3 is going to become a 2, or that looks like an S. Let's maybe rewrite that. Okay, and this will turn out to be coming back here, and it'll look like a fraction. Okay, so we borrowed 1 whole, but that 1 whole needs to turn into a fraction when we bring it back. Okay, now when we do that, look at your denominator. Your denominator is a 12. So the 1 whole that you're bringing back is going to look like your denominator. Okay, so we are bringing back something that means 1. Okay, this 12 over 12 means 1. This is the 1 that we borrowed. So we're going to regroup here, and we have our 12 over 12, and we're going to add the previous fraction that was in the problem already. So now, when we add these 2 things together, this 3 just became a 15. Okay? The 3 became a 15 when we added this 1 whole that we borrowed. Now we have 15 minus 4, and that's a math problem that we can work. Okay? So now, when I subtract 15 minus 4, I'm going to get 11. The denominator is going to stay the same, and then 2 minus 2 technically is 0, so we don't have to have a whole number written down any longer. Okay? The last thing we're going to look at is this fraction, and we're going to decide if it can be simplified. If it can, then we're going to find groups they have in common, and we're going to do a division problem. When we look at 11, 11 is a prime number. The only multiplication facts for 11 are 1 and 11, and the only way it could get smaller is if I could skip count by 11s and land on 12, which we know we cannot. Okay? So that is your first problem, and this is going to go along probably the exact same way for the remainder of the problems. Let's skip down and look at maybe G. I'll work it also. So it has 18 and 3/4 minus 5 and 7/8. Okay? That's our problem there. Now, when we look at it, again, this is subtraction, so we have to do fair sharing. Our 4 and our 8 are not the same, so we start thinking, what can we do to make these denominators the same? We can skip count by 4s and land on 8. So all I'm going to do is, just like yesterday when that happened, I'm going to scoot over the fraction that did not change, and I'm going to make the denominator that did now say 8 along the bottom. Okay? So I have 4 times 2 is 8, and I'm going to have 3 times 2, and that's going to be 6. Now, we run into the same issue we had a second ago. Okay? We see that 6 minus 7 is not going to work. So we're going to come over to this 18 here, to our whole number, and we're going to mark it out, and we're going to borrow 1. So if we borrow 1 from 18, it's going to become 17. And we're going to bring back a whole. Now, earlier, our whole looks like 12 over 12, but 12 isn't our denominator anymore, it's an 8. So now when we borrow our 1 whole to look like a fraction, we're going to need to bring back the denominator that's already in our problem. So this time we're going to bring back 8 over 8, okay? So we're going to add these two together, okay? I borrowed my 1 whole, and here it is. So if I add the 8 and the 6, now I have 14 as my numerator, all right? When I look at 14, I can do 14 minus 7 easily. 14 minus 7 is 7. 8 is still going to be my denominator. And then I'm going to take my 17 and subtract 5. 17 minus 5 is 12, okay? So, our final answer on this question is 12 and 7/8. Now, my nephew is here. He's outside my front door, and my dogs are barking like it's the apocalypse. Okay? That's just what they do when somebody walks up to the front door. Now, they're going to be quiet because they think there's food somewhere. All right? If we continue looking, question number 2 is one of the first word problems. It says 7 1/4 minus 3 3/4 is equal to 4 1/4 minus 3/4. Okay? It says, is the statement correct? Draw a number line to support your answer. You could draw a number line easily, break it into fourths, and then you could skip count on the number line to see if the two things are going to be the same. Question 3 and 4 are also going to be mixed numbers with subtraction. It's going to work the exact same way that we just did. You shouldn't have any trouble. It's just some borrowing, and you can look back at this video to see how that worked. Again, the main thing is if you borrow whole, bring it back, and then add it to the number or the fraction that was already there. Some of the kids, when I've noticed when we were at school, they would forget to borrow from the whole number, or they would borrow the whole and forget to add the two fractions together. So just make sure that the kids are taking the time and following all the steps. I hope you have a good spring break. Again, don't worry about what's to come. We've got more packets ready. I'll be back. I won't leave you by yourself and you have to work things alone. I included 1 week of it is fractions, but it's similar to stuff we were just doing. One of the lessons is on multiplication of fractions, and then the rest are either geometry lessons that deal with quadrilaterals, and the other part is like some graphing stuff where there's like a heart on the page and they have to find on the grid where the heart is, and I tried to include instructions on everything. Again, you can reach me on Facebook or through Remind. If you need help on anything, you can snap me a picture of it and I'll answer the questions to the best of my ability. Also, we're going to try to do a Zoom meeting. So if you parents want to go ahead and download the Zoom app, you can find that in your app store. I think it goes for either one. And we'll send out a link, and then it won't be for like classwork, where it's just where the kids can all see each other and talk to each other, and we can touch base that way. I know some of them are missing their friends, and that might be the only way that we kind of have a fun interaction with everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you soon.